Talking about the anterior and the medial aspect of the thigh or the compartment of the thigh, there are a lot of muscles which are present in the anterior medial aspect of the thigh, and we have the muscles which are actually on the anterior aspect, including different muscles, and we have one on the medial aspect as well. So there are a lot of muscles, so we are going to discuss them in different sections. So in this section we are going to talk about the muscles on the anterior aspect of the thigh, and moving on we're going to talk about the muscles on the medial aspect of the thigh as well. So in this section we're going to talk about the iliopsoas, which is actually a combination of two muscles. One is the iliacus and the other one is the psoas major. And we're also going to talk about the tensor fascia lata, and we're also going to talk about the sartorius. Another very important muscle on the anterior aspect of the thigh is the quadriceps femoris, which consists of rectus femoris, vastus intermedius, vastus lateralis, and vastus medialis. But in this section, we're going to talk about only the iliopsoas, tensor fascia lata, and sartorius, and we're going to talk about the quadriceps femoris in the upcoming section. So as I already mentioned that the muscles of the anterior thigh include iliacus, psoas major, tensor fascia lata, sartorius, and the quadriceps femoris. So you can also observe these muscles in this picture here on the this part of the slide. So you can see this is the tensor fascia lata, which is located on the anterolateral aspect. Here we have the sartorius, which starts off from the anterior aspect but moves on towards the medial, so we can somehow also consider it as one of the muscles on the medial aspect. Then we also have the iliopsoas or the psoas major and iliacus. So this is the iliacus and this one is the psoas major. And then we have the quadriceps femoris here. So this one is the rectus femoris, this one is the vastus lateralis, and this one is the vastus medialis. And the vastus intermedius is not visible because it is located beneath the rectus femoris. So once you remove the rectus femoris, you can visualize the vastus intermedialis as well, or vastus intermedius. So talking about the iliopsoas, as already mentioned, it is actually composed of two different muscles. One is the iliacus and one is the psoas. So iliacus and psoas are two, or you can also call it as psoas major. So iliacus and psoas major are actually two different muscles, but they have a common insertion or the distal attachment site, but they have a different proximal attachment site. So if we talk about the iliopsoas muscle, so if we talk about the iliacus, so the proximal attachment site of the iliacus is the iliac fossa, whereas the proximal attachment site of the psoas major is the anterior and the lateral aspect of the vertebrae, which extend from 12th thoracic vertebra to the 5th lumbar vertebra. T12 is actually, or the 12th thoracic vertebra is the last thoracic vertebra, and L5 is the last lumbar vertebra. Now, the insertion of these two muscles is common. That is why they are commonly known as the iliopsoas muscles, and that is the lassa trochanter. And they are one of the primary movers in hip flexion. And they are very important muscles clinically as well, because whenever there is injury, or whenever there is a surgery or any type of disease, or if a patient is bedbound, these muscles are very quick to respond in terms of atrophy. So they get atrophied very easily, and it's very common to see that you would see that patients who have been bedbound or who have undergone a surgery like total hip replacement or total hip arthroplasty, they would have weak iliopsoas and thus weak hip flexion. If you talk about the nerve supply of these muscles, there is the iliacus portion and psoas major portion, and the nerve supply of the iliacus portion is by the femoral nerve, and the psoas major is also by the same nerve root, which is the L2 and L3, and that is why, because they are the primary hip flexors, so they are actually involved in hip flexion, and that is why they are supplied by the L2 and L3. So L2 is also commonly known as the myotome for hip flexion. Now talking about the tensor fascia lata, so tensor fascia lata is actually a muscle which is inserted on the lateral aspect of the leg through the connective tissue or the tendinous band, which is known as the iliotibial band. So this is actually the tensor fascia lata, which is on the anterior aspect, but it inserts through the iliotibial band, which is located on the lateral aspect of the thigh. So if you talk about the origin, so the origin is via the anterior superior iliac spine, but insertion is via the through iliotibial band into the lateral condyle of the tibia on the lateral aspect. So if we talk about the iliopsoas muscle here, so as we can see, it is only crossing the hip joint, so it is just a single joint muscle only causing hip flexion. But if we talk about the tensor fascial lata, so tensor fascial lata is actually a muscle which is acting at hip as well as also acting at knee, but it does not have any much significant function at the knee, so it only acts as an accessory muscle at the knee, but it has a primary or a more major function at the hip joint, and it is in twofold. It also acts as a hip flexor as well as a hip abductor as well. Now, talking about the nerve supply of tensor fascial lata, it is via the superior gluteal nerve through the nerve roots L4 and L5. Now, moving on, we have the sartorius muscle. So it is also on the anterior aspect, but also on the medial aspect, because it starts off anteriorly via the anterior superior iliac spine, moves anteriorly towards the medial aspect, and then goes posteriorly and then inserts medially to the tibia. So if we take a look at the origin, so that is from the anterior superior iliac spine, then it goes downward and medially, and then eventually goes posteriorly and then back anteriorly and inserts into the proximal medial aspect of the tibia. Now, because of its complex orientation, its function is also complex, and as it is crossing two joints in the lower extremity, it also acts as a multi-joint muscle or a two-joint muscle. So its functions include hip flexion, hip lateral rotation, as well as knee flexion. And the nerve supply is via the femoral nerve in terms of myotomes L2 and L3 myotome. So the next topic that we are going to talk about is the hip pointer. It is actually injury, and it is very common in contact sports such as rugby and American football, as well as ice hockey, because in those sports there is actually a lot of chance of the individual to individual contact, which can lead to injury. And this actually is an injury which is a contusion of the iliac crest, which is actually the superiormost aspect of the innominate bone, and it usually occurs at its anterior part where the sartorius attaches to the anterior superior iliac spine. But it can also occur on the little bit more superior aspect where the iliacus attaches to the iliac fossa and the iliac crest, and it can also occur at the level of the anterior inferior iliac spine where the rectus femoris attaches. But the most common is the anterior superior iliac spine where the sartorius is being attached. So as I already mentioned, it is one of the most common injuries in contact sports and also known as collision sports. And sometimes the contusion can be so severe that it can lead to bleeding from ruptured capillaries, and that capillary rupture and bleeding can be so profound that it can lead to the infiltration of blood into muscles, tendons, and other soft tissues. Now, sometimes due to a very excessive collision during sports play, it is possible that sometimes that hip pointer injuries can actually be exacerbated to the point that it leads to avulsion fractures. So hip pointer can lead to avulsion of bony muscle attachments, which includes sartorius, and because of its proximal attachment to the anterior superior iliac spine, and as well as the rectus femoris because of its proximal attachment to the anterior inferior iliac spine. So you can see this is the proximal attachment of the sartorius at the level of the anterior superior iliac spine, and here's the proximal attachment of the rectus femoris at the level of anterior inferior iliac spine, and they can both actually pull the chunk or the segment of the bone at their site of insertion or attachment, and can lead to avulsion fractures. And also iliopsoas, because it also attaches to the iliac crest and iliac fossa, and then attaches to the lesser trochanter of the femur, and can also cause the avulsion fractures in these two regions. And these injuries then need to be demarcated and separated and differentially diagnosed from hip pointer as avulsion fractures or avulsion injuries, because hip pointer does not consist of an avulsion fracture. It is just a contusion, and it may sometimes lead to profuse bleeding, internal bleeding, but in avulsion fractures it is actually a fracture and it needs to be managed appropriately as so. So that was all about this section in which talked about the muscles of the anterior aspect of the thigh, which consisted of the sartorius as well as the tensor, fascia, lata, and iliacus and psoas. But we did not talk about the quadriceps, and we're going to talk about that section in the upcoming lecture. So stay tuned for that and watch that as well to get a complete overview of the muscles on the anterior aspect. And keep on watching sqadia.com for more lectures like this. Thank you very much.